So, Liz, to your knowledge, do you know what brain rot is, or do you know some of the brain rot that has been happening? Because I have talked to you about this before.
Well, yeah, we talked about, the society.
Yeah, we should say sorry. It's been a while. It's been a couple while. So everyone, yeah, thank you for listening to.
Because I was out of sleeping and busy.
Yeah, it's been the holiday season. We just got through one in the United States. We got through Thanksgiving. We're about to hit into the winter holidays. So we both our schedules have been busy. So everyone, thank you for being patient. Yeah, it's been about 2 weeks since we released an episode. We're
going on a 2-week leave before the holidays.
Yeah, so we have, I think, what we have 2 more episodes for the end of the year. Yeah, we only have.
I thought we had only one more.
Yeah, we have this episode. So yeah, you guys got this episode and one more till the end of the year to hold yourself off, and then you'll get another break from us again. The last break was semi not intended. We were supposed to schedule one episode. I forgot what week before you went on your trip. You can talk a little bit about your trip in a little bit, but yeah, I think there was just some miscommunication with that last episode. It happens, everyone. It's busy around here. It's busy.
With our families, our lives, our work schedules.
So I think I'll be more active on social media to let people know just to let you guys know, hey, there's no episode this week, or so on and so forth, things like that, just to make it easy. So some people are wondering, oh wait, what happened? But yeah, how was your trip? Yeah, let's go over that. How was your trip?
Ashmere and Leavenworth were beautiful towns. Absolutely would love to go. I think everybody should go do that. It's a bucket list. I would like to try that during the summertime to see how it's different, because when you go into Leavenworth, it's beautiful because you got the snowy mountains and the architecture is very Germanic, and it was a really pretty cute town. I like it. I would like to do it a little. It was enough for me to be suffice to go in for a day, but Kashmir was beautiful too. And there's a theme park around there. I would like to check that out during the summer because I think that would be fun. So, yeah, I think it was a cute town. I think everybody should explore it once in their lifetime, and it was great. We were about 50 feet ish away from a cider place called Yonder. They were. My favorite one.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I should picture the pussy one. It was a cherry with lime, ginger, and hibiscus.
Interesting. Anything with hibiscus is always interesting.
It was one of the last ingredients. It wasn't specified on the can, but if you went into the actual cider place, they actually said it on the menu. So.
Okay. But yeah.
Apparently it was a collab.
Oh, one of those things. Okay, that sounds fun. Fun. It's always nice to take one of those trips. And it's always a little saddening when it's just a day trip, right? And you want to do more.
We actually were there for a couple days. We left on Thursday, got there because it's about a 5 to 6 hour drive. How fast you go and which route you go, and our Airbnb was in Kashmir. It was about a 15-minute drive from Leavenworth, and we didn't get back until Sunday afternoon.
Okay, so you had some time, and you got to enjoy the scenery, which is nice. You want to do that during this time.
Right from here, and I kind of get called into work, and apparently I jinxed myself with that because they decided they're going to call me all this last couple days.
They just need you. They just need you over there.
I know they do. Don't give me a day off during the week. You guys are going to call me in either way.
I know, right? At this point, just just live there at this point,
I know there was a joke that I should just have a
spare room,
cot in the annex room, and just sleep there. And I said, oh yeah, they have darkening ones out there. You could just me in there and put it good, I would never lose sight.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I myself barely got myself a 3-day weekend, which is rare during these time of years for my company, just because of how hectic and how short-handed we are. So, I was hoping to do some progress on certain things. I slept most of my days off, so
Sometimes you need it.
yeah,
That's the whole thing. You need to recoup.
yeah. I just kind of slept, sat on my couch, and kind of just read, caught up on a couple books and just a few shows, just decompress. I think that's the best way. Sometimes people want to make use of your days off, and I know that feeling of like I want to be productive on your days off. But like you said, sometimes you just kind of want to do some mental and emotional recoup. So it was. I'm doing. I did fall sick on yesterday. Small fever, nothing grand. Nothing. Yeah, nothing like some like a ton of NyQuil will do after you go to bed. So like you gotta love that. Just drink it. People just drink that shit.
I know.
But yeah, no, I'm feeling a little better.
People drink with mix.
But yeah, that's kind of been my week. It's like I said, it's been busy. Nothing really to tout about. Just like I said, it's gonna be busy. It's almost over. Holidays are just upon us. We'll talk more about holidays next week when it's closer. About plans and stuff like that. But yeah, anything else you want to go over before we jump into some of these stories?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right, everyone. So just
don't forget to like and subscribe to us and follow us and tell friends about us.
Oh yeah. We've been forgetting that. Like, yeah, if you want to give us a gift, yes, like and subscribe or follow, depending if you're watching this on YouTube, Spotify, or any other podcasting network. Share it with a friend, a family member, put it on the background during your holiday parties. Let people know, that's a gift you can give us. It's always fun to share some of these things and some of the convoluted things that are happening around the world. So yes, yeah, let us know. Let people know about us. Would be a wonderful gift you can give us. All right, let's start with our first topic. Now, the first one is something of a fun thing where Oxford University Press has selected the word brain rot as its 2024 word of the year, highlighting concerns about the mental and cognitive effects of excessive consumption of trivial online content, and the term, originally coined by Henry David Thoreau back in 1854, has resurfaced in the digital era to describe mental fogginess, cognitive decline associated with overexposure to low-quality digital media. So, Liz, to your knowledge, do you know what brain rot is, or do you know some of the brain rot that has been happening? Because I have talked to you about this before.
Well, yeah, we talked about, the society, the social media. So it's kind of been a brain rot, We talked about that, What's your question again? I'm sorry, I blanked out on it. I got on my tangent and I forgot.
That's fine. Do you know some of the current brain rot or some of the terms that brain rot listed to? We've talked about this before.
I know, it's just been a minute. I have not. I don't think I've actually went over it. I haven't heard that term come to light in a hot minute. So I guess that the fact that it's coming back into vocabulary.
That just tells me.
Brain rot. I have not been paying attention.
Yeah, Liz has zero aura. She's like, she has no Ohio Riz. So disappointing. We should fan and tax her so much.
The damn slang. I know my mother's shirt that she got from the Christmas gift part of our trip was human by choice, but Sigma by chance.
Zero Riz right there. Negative aura right there. So that's kind of where brain rot is right now. Those are some of the terminology skibbity, things like that. That is what brain rot is right now.
Yeah. I we were talking. I think we were kind of not using the term brain rot, but we were all like, my friend and I, Liz, we're talking about it. I was like, what is up with these words? Why can't we just use full on words? Why do we have to shorten this stuff and all crap? I was like, I agree, absolutely.
So there to go into some semblance before we dive in deeper into some of the key points here. So we we've done this before back in the day during text when we did acronyms like IDK, LOL, things like that. So it's not intangible, but I think it's more recently where the word brain rot has come back is because of how degenerate the terms have gone in. And you were talking about brain rot without knowing what the terminology has been, because even to this day, when I was having a conversation during Thanksgiving actually about all this, and we were just joking about these terms and how this day and age, and like you know, and probably some of the audience knows, since I'm more online than you are, I am more intertwined with some of these vocabs. And even though I am not myself like fully aware of what most of these words mean, we can do it'll be fun to do a fun I think we did it with a couple other words where we did like, here's the word and what does it mean,
Yeah. I remember when you guys tried to teach me yeet and
yeah. And then like what was the other one, like bass and things like that, and that was only a couple years ago. That was literally only a couple years ago.
No, and I still don't understand the words. I'm like, why? I know I don't even use it. I think it's stupid.
That's just the old person mentality. Well, think about it. That's how old people see the younger generation with vocab and things like that. Just traditional things. It's just generational thing.
Yeah, I get it. It's a generational thing. But I mean, like, part of it is just kind of like right now with these stupid words like the Riz and all that. Like,
I think
I think it's shortened. It just, why don't we just use the whole word? It's not anything. I get it, but it's decaying our vocabulary. We're not sounding sophisticated. We're sounding stupid.
I think that's where the term brain rot has really culminated from. That's how bad it's gone, and mostly with this day and age where people are so stuck in these short form social media posts, your TikTok, your Reels, your YouTube Shorts, where your attention span is just like, I need your next mode of dopamine constantly, because it's like, oh, this is not fun, scroll to the next thing. I think like this might be like a bit offensive to my brother, but my brother is like near brain rot levels when it comes to social media, because his attention span to certain things are next to nil. Like, he can get hyper focused on certain things, but the second he turns on his TikTok or his Reels, he's on there for hours just scrolling. Yeah,
I've been kind of laying off on the Reels and stuff like that and TikToks. I mean, I get on and then I'm off for like 5 minutes. I don't know. I'm not feeling enthused by it lately.
Yeah,
great things out there. I just can't seem to sit still enough to do it anymore. I don't know if it's.
Oh, I think if you use, there are some things that is useful. For example, my brother was on during his TikTok. He was in like plumbing TikTok, which has some usefulness. I used TikTok a while ago, and it sent me down this like rabbit hole of lawn mowing cutting TikTok, where you just see people like do those sped up things where they just cut the lawn, and it's satisfying just people just watching the lawns and then seeing the before and after, which is nice. And it just these moments where it's just like, if you use social media, at least these short form video content things, a little bit more responsibly, I like spend like a few minutes like, that was fun, I'd not spend like minutes or hours on it, because like I said, there are people that just sit there for hours watching it. Just seeing, like, I think one of the worst offenses that I'm gonna use my brother again as an example is he watches movie recaps. Like, they explain the entire movie in a TikTok, using that voice thing, voice generator, like it's just like, and then it's like, oh, that sounds like an interesting movie. Are you gonna watch it? Like, no, I already found out what it's about. Like, but let's go. But now let's continue with this. Some of the things. So, brain rot refers to the deterioration of mental or intelligent capacity due to the overconsumption of trivial or unchallenging online material. Yep, that's kind of what we were talking about. The term has gained popularity among younger generations, often used humorously to acknowledge the effects of excessive screen time. Yeah, brain rot. Yeah, exactly what we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. So if you see someone who's on their phone constantly, it's like they have brain rot, basically. Or if they excessively use that terminology, because I use those terms ironically, like I wouldn't actually use like how Liz has zero riz in an actual conversation, but I would use it ironically around her, and she would know I was joking. But it's one of those things like I'm not actually using those.
He's teasing me. He's being mean to me. He's putting me in the corner, guys. I swear to you.
So, go ahead and read the next section. Part 2.
This is not coming out clearly in my section, so
I can read it. First recorded by Henry David Thoreau and back in 1854, brain rot critiques societal tendencies towards intellectual laziness. That's actually pretty good. Back in 1854, that worm, like, if you were like basically being stupid, right? Like purposely being stupid, brain rot. And back in 1954, what the heck was happening during 1954?
It was before the great, what's that word? It was for them. It was like a technology advancement. We were seeing a lot of that, from steam engines to coal engines, and we were seeing a rise in modern day activities today. So
apparently the Kansas-Nebraska Act was signed. The Republican Party was founded. The Crimean War, the British and France were declared war. They defined Immaculate Conception by Pope Pius IX. The Canadian, there's a lot of things. The Canadian Reciprocity Treaty was signed. There's a lot of things happening here. The Crystal Palace had a life-size dinosaurs in the ground. That's kind of cool. There's a lot of things happening. But it was a time where industry was just about to start its hitting point, right? Can you read the third part, or you want me to continue?
Excessive screen time is linked to mental fogginess, reduced attention span, and cognitive decline, particularly among young adults. Behaviors like doom scrolling contribute to anxiety, depression, and decreased productivity.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think my kid has a little bit of a brain rot going on. I can see that.
I think we've talked about this idea of like how social media and online content affects the younger generation. It's not good. I'll be honest. My nephew is an iPad kid. And I tell my sister, he's not gonna be very balanced if you just keep him on screen all the time. Like, you and I grew up in a time, this is us being oldies right now, that we didn't have these screens at their ages. I think, when did I get my first portable screen? I'm trying to think. When did I have my first portable screen?
Game Boy would have been back in 96, 97, 98.
Yeah, I would say that. But damn, those things needed batteries for days. I would burn through batteries.
I know, right? Yeah, I was just...
And then also you couldn't play at night unless you had the little flashlight, which I didn't get until later.
I know, right? My brother got one, I think, and We used it when we were traveling a lot, but yeah, that was our portable one. But our backyard was our play set, or the walking around our
Or
neighborhood. I mean, that
entertaining,
was
or
our playground. Our playground was different, and compared to the kids these days, it's the screens. Like, you didn't have this luxury. You went out and you went and traveled and you did things and hung out with your friends. I mean, our gaming systems are there, like, oh, who's got the newest game system? My neighbor had the N64. We had the Sega Genesis. Like, that was our game things, but like not extreme.
yeah, because even then, even with because I was kind of excluding that, but yeah, the genesis of more home entertaining was becoming more accessible to the common people. I remember I had the Super Nintendo and the N64, and like you mentioned, those were games where you would go and you would play them, and then I would go to my cousin's because he had a PlayStation, and when we would go visit, I would play the PlayStation over there, and when he would come visit, he would play the N64 at my place. And it was more of a social gathering to go do these things. Like, oh yes, like you would want to go to your friends and families. Like, oh yes, I'm gonna go visit my cousin. We can play PlayStation together. We can play something, or for the vice versa. Or I'm gonna go to my buddy's place because he has the GameCube and things like that. Now with the idea of now being online, and I mean the level of connectivity, you don't have to be in the same room to play games together, which is nice. I'm not going to deny that for those who are not able to go out.
During COVID.
Yeah, which and for those who are not able to be able to commune due to disabilities or other reasons, anxiety and things like that, which is nice. But the idea of being these social events to more build your social etiquette has really declined with just like how bad some online things are. Just people are just like nasty on social media. Just it's just they've lost like that level of social interacting in a personal level because everything's online. Like to be honest, like you and me, like we do hang out, but I think the last time we actually were in the same place together was like 7 weeks ago, over a month.
I don't know. I know it's back in October. That's all I remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but our schedules, our holidays, just it's a chaos. I mean, but that's the way the world works out. I mean, we're adults. We don't have as much of a social life as most of kids do these days sometimes. So.
And I think also that is also affecting the kids of the current generation because the parents aren't able to do or spend time with their kids, so they can't spend time with their other like parents of those kids because everyone's just too busy having to work multiple jobs. So you have to kind of live your kids to these digital babysitters at this point, right? Because mom and dad have to go leave to job number 2 or 3 because you just can't afford to live in these days. So the only way they can get educated is by just watching the content that's given to them and spoon-fed and these very short and repetitive motions. And it's just really a big horrible cycle that's happening to cause this level of brain rot. I think society is just causing this level of brain rot to an extent. So the term encapsulates concern about digital overload and its effect on mental health, prompting discussions of balancing technology use. Educational institutions are implementing measures like cell phone bans to mitigate these effects. I think, what was that? There was a country that banned social media for anyone under the age of 16, I think.
Was it Korea?
China. No. Well, Korea had the whole like coup shit happen recently.
Oh yeah. I kind of briefly overheard about it. Like, ooh.
Okay, what was it? Where was it? Australia. It was Australia who banned it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Australia passes social media ban for children under the age of 16. So that's something. Like
Yeah.
there'll always be a way around it, but I think we talked about it. It's like you have to find a way to levy, like to keep them away from social media as a whole is bad because they're eventually going to get into it no matter what. I think it's just like educating them to an extent, right? To let them know what they're getting themselves into, because like it's a cesspool out there when it comes to social media. Like, have you done any social media education with your child?
I just told him like don't interact with strangers unless you absolutely know it's your friend. You know. Other than that, and yeah, really kind of like stranger danger. Don't talk to people you don't know. So.
What about just reading your everyday comments and stuff like that, or posts or images?
Unfortunately, as I'm her mother, I'm terrible. I'm a terrible human being because my comments are like the everyday life that I speak. Between you and I, between my brothers and sisters, are bullshit. It's the same comments that you would see in any thing. She reads some of those comments and she goes laughing because it's something I would say, it's something my brother would say. Somebody she knows, so she would say it. 'Cause she knows I'm a terrible person. Seriously.
I think you're a little bit more on the better side of the bad person spectrum than how bad the internet is.
True.
As long as
True. True.
as long as they're not on TikTok, I mean Twitter, I think they're fine at this point right now.
Yeah, they're not on Twitter. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's a whole other can of worms right there. Let's see here. Anything else important? So the word brain rot has been used 230% more in the past year. Yeah, it makes sense why it's been used. Some of the other words that were for the year 2024 was dynamic pricing and demure. Oh, demure. I recently learned about the word demure recently.
You did? That was hilarious. I was laughing when I heard the video. I was like, what the fuck? I was trying to figure. And then people was doing more TikTok videos of it. And I'm like, oh, this makes sense. It's hilarious. And
Yeah.
it was when I did my interview for American, we were joking about that. Very demure, very cutesy.
Once again, Liz has lost some aura points right there. She has Ohio Riz, sadly.
I'm already in the negative. I am.
Okay. So let's see.
Okay.
What are some of these questions here? Anything interesting in these questions to discuss? We kind of talked about number 2 already.
Talked about 1 too.
Let's see here. Can human and self-awareness and using brain rot continue meaningful discussions? We kind of did that in this episode, or this portion of the episode. What strategies can implement? Mental impacts. I think we're pretty good. You want to read the closing thoughts on this one?
Yeah. The designation of brain rot as the word of the year underscores a growing societal awareness of the cognitive and mental health challenges posed by the digital age. This term serves as a catalyst for discussions on finding equilibrium between embracing technological advancements, and preserving mental well-being.
Everyone, be careful out there. And if you have any problems, you have Skibbity Riz right now. All right, Liz, you want to start with the next story?
Yeah. A comprehensive study by Duke University and Florida State University reveals that the lead exposure from gasoline exhaust contribute to approximately 151 million cases of psychiatric disorders in the U.S. between 1940 and 2015. Damn. Despite the 1996 ban on leaded gasoline, or their neurotoxic effects persist, particularly among individuals born during its peak usage in the 1960s and the 1970s.
Yeah.
There goes my older siblings.
So, were you ever one of those people that was fond of the smell of gasoline when they were like being pumped?
When I was younger, I actually had to pump it quite a few times in the last week and last couple weeks. And that just ugh, the smell of it does not appeal to me anymore. Like I used to like it when we used to put it in like our gasoline tank lawnmower, and we would have to push that. That was like it was kind of fun, you know.
It's that weird thing where some people enjoy certain smells. Like some people like the smell of cigarette smoke, and like they don't like the smoke, but the like the lingering smell, things of that nature. It's always odd. It's something to look into why people have these, probably some mental connections, things like that. Maybe like at least for gasoline, maybe road trips and the like. But it seems like this exposure has not been that great, as findings have found out, which is can
I'm so sorry
be.
for all the Oregonians who used to pump our gases. Come on.
Oh yeah. Well, some people do. You know, some people still kept those jobs, which is nice.
Yeah, they still. Yeah, but I mean, still think about it. They're still exposed right now. You think about it. So.
Wait, do we still have leaded gas? Do we?
I don't know if we have it here in the state of Oregon. I'm not quite sure.
Let me see. Go ahead and start reading next while I look up.
Introduced in 1923 to enhance engine performance, leaded gasoline was widely used until its ban in 1996. Peak usage occurred between the mid-1960s and mid-1970s, leading to widespread environmental contamination. It is a potent neurotoxin with no safe level exposure, especially harmful to developing brains. Exposure during childhood can result in cognitive impairments, behavioral issues, and increased susceptibility to mental health disorders.
Interesting.
Generational impact. Individuals born between 1966 and 1986 experienced the highest levels of lead exposure, correlating with the increased rates of depression, anxiety, and ADHD. Interesting.
Okay, so I looked it up. So Oregon has had no leaded gas since 1996, but they still have leaded gas in race cars in Oregon for race cars.
Interesting.
Okay.
Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980, bears the greatest burden of lead-associated mental health issues. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was during that.
Sense.
It's always during that time because there was like leaded things and like paints, toys, and lead was everywhere. Let's be honest, lead was everywhere. It's it was during the time when it was during the time where regulations were very loosey goosey, you know, loose. So. And things have got tightened up a lot better these days. Things are still a little bit loose, but not as bad as they used to be, which is nice. But definitely we are a little bit better off than we used to be. But I can see, we can kind of see why we are where we are right now in the mental health environment that we are at the moment, because of the things that happened in the past and the environments that we were in, right? And the chemicals that were given to us. Like, it's one of those things when then they do these studies, which takes like years and decades to look over, because that's how long it takes to see the effects. You just never know, which is disappointing. It's like you can only wait so long, and the damage has already been done, which is disappointing because it's the people suffering.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. Lead persists in older infrastructures, including pipes, paints, and soils, posing continuous exposure risk. Recent EPA regulations aim to address these hazards by challenging remains in fully mitigating exposure. I know my brother was actually talking to me, since he's in going into the plumbing industry, that a lot of piping work has to be redone and of that nature, just because, lead pipes and stuff like that in older homes and stuff of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it just leads to this like next level of, disappointment, which is sad a little bit. It's our elders that are suffering in their last quote golden years, and then the children below them. What else?
Right.
Here's the studies underscore the necessities for stringent. There it is. Stringent environmental policies to prevent future lead exposure. It highlights the importance of mental health services for affected populace and proactive measures to eliminate remaining lead sources. Let's see here. Let's go over some of these questions. Kind of talked about the first one a little bit. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if we can answer that one properly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can answer much of these. We talked a little bit about one.
And the last one. No, not really. I mean,
No.
We can't really talk about we would unless we had more research into these questions. But it kind of makes sense for why we have such a high populace. It does kind of make sense to why we have problems nowadays with mental health.
And in the older
generation, and like my brother's generation, my older siblings' generations, like I see it now. I'm like, oh, this makes absolutely fucking sense now. Yeah, so
yeah,
I think
it's just good to know that, to be exposed of the news, to know the information's out there. Like, this is happening, and now this is potentially one of the other reasons that it can happen, because some people wonder why they are the way they are, sometimes, and they just never know. And it can be like, sometimes you just never know what's something inside you, or it can be an external force, like a chemical that you've been around and you just didn't know it was affecting you for so long until now, because of how long it takes for these things. So the enduring impact of the leaded gasoline on mental health serves as a poignant reminder of the intrinsic link between environmental policies and public well-being, addressing the residual effects requiring a consistent effort to remedy concerted effort to remedy, is that right? Contaminated environments and provide comprehensive support of affected individuals. Okay, that's it. All right, so let's we're gonna be trying something a little different, everyone. So where are you? So we're gonna be diving in to the Baby Garnet case, a heartbreaking cold case from 1997 that baffled investigators for decades until the DNA testing cracked it wide open in 2022. But here's the twist. The breakthrough came from an unsuspecting source, a recreational DNA test taken by the suspect's granddaughter.
Imagine getting a call that your family tree has some deeply buried skeletons. Literally. That's what happened to Jenna, I'm going to mutilate this, Gerwatsky, a 23-year-old who had no idea her DNA would become a key to solving the decades-old mystery.
For those of you unfamiliar with the case, let's set the stage. Back in 1997, a body of an infant, dubbed Baby Garnet, was found in a pit toilet at the Garnet Lake campgrounds in Newberry, Michigan. The autopsy revealed that the baby died of asphyxiation, but there was no leads. The case went cold for more than 20 years. I think I've heard of that story.
There's so many cases like that. It's very possible.
Yeah, continue.
It wasn't until 2017 the Michigan State Police reopened the case, armed with new forensic tools. Fast forward to 2022, and a matching and genealogy database led investigation to Jenna and eventually her grandmother, Nancy Kowalski, who is now facing charges of open murder, involuntary manslaughter, and concealing the death of an individual.
Oof. Today we'll explore the case itself, the groundbreaking role of the genetic genealogy in solving it, and the ethical minefield that this technology creates. Are we sacrificing too much privacy in the name of justice? What are the emotional repercussions for the family caught in the crossfire? And what does this mean for the future of law enforcement?
Please. Plus, we'll break down the legal drama. Nancy's defense claims the baby was stillborn and that she was in shock during the traumatic birth. They're arguing for the charges to be dropped entirely. We'll unpack the court battle and what it could mean for similar cases in the future.
So grab a drink of choice, settle in, and let's unravel the Baby Garnet, the technology that solved a mystery, and the ripple effects still being felt today. Oh, it's me. All right, let's start with the facts of the case. Liz, take us back where it all began.
All right, let's rewind to 1997. Garnet Lake Campground was a quiet spot in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Not exactly the kind of place you would expect a gruesome discovery, but on the summer day, campers found the remains of a newborn in a pit toilet. The infant, later named Baby Garnet, became the center of a heartbreaking mystery.
The autopsy revealed that the baby was fully termed and had died from asphyxiation. Authorities determined the death could have been prevented with medical intervention, but there was no witnesses, no suspects, no clear leads. Despite efforts, the case went cold for over 2 decades.
Fast forward to 2017, when Michigan State Police decided to reopen the case. By the time forensic science had advanced significantly, especially in the field of genetic genealogy, they extracted DNA from Baby Garnet's remains and sent it to the lab for analysis.
This is where things get fascinating. Investigator partnered with a genealogy firm to build a family tree using DNA matches from the public database. And wouldn't you know it, in 2022, they found a match. Gina Grauwatsky. We're just going to call her Gina. A 23-year-old woman who had submitted her DNA for a recreational testing site.
Jenna's DNA connected to Baby Garnet as a half niece. Talk about the plot twist. She had no idea her family connected to the case. It was a normal day at work when she got the call from police telling her that her DNA had led to the decades-old mystery.
Understandably, Gina was shocked and skeptical at first. She even thought that it might be a scam, but after some digging and follow-up from the police, she realized the connection was real. The investigation quickly led to her grandmother, Nancy.
Nancy, now in her 60s, living in Wyoming, was charged with the open murder, involuntary manslaughter, and concealing a death. Prosecutors alleged that she gave birth alone at home, and the baby's death could have been prevented had she sought medical help. Nancy's defense argues the baby was stillborn and the entire situation was a traumatic accident.
It's a tragic story of so many levels, but the real breakthrough here, beyond solving a decades-old mystery, is the role genetic genealogy played in cracking the case. It's a tool that's solving cold cases across the country, but it's also raising some serious ethical questions.
Absolutely. The question is, how far is too far when it comes to using DNA for justice? We'll dive into that next segment, but first, let's talk about how this technology works and why it's both groundbreaking and controversial.
So let's take a closer look. I think even I forget what company had like a hack.
23andMe.
Oh, was it them? Are you sure? Do you want me to double check? Or are you 100% sure?
I believe so. Go ahead.
You want me to check?
I believe it's. Yeah, go ahead. Validate me, man. Validate me.
News.
I personally got a letter from them. So
yes. Oh yeah. So yeah, you're right. Which sucks is because your genetic information is now out there, which doesn't depending on how you use it can be very malicious, right? Like it's literally your genetic blueprint, which is interesting that it's in the because you wouldn't think that when you're submitting this because you just kind of want to know information about yourself, which is most people do when it comes to these test sites. I know others use it for parental checks with their children and things of that nature. But most people use it recreationally to know more about themselves, a family, and stuff like that. But then, cold case 2 or 3 later, like what is really being used with your information? And this is something we've talked about before in other aspects. So let's take a closer look at the sign. Wait, were you worried at all when you got that letter? Upset or any thoughts before we continue?
No, I was like, well, it's bound to happen. I mean, everything's been hacked lately, left and right. So what's the next step to happen? You know what I mean?
All right, let's take a closer look at the science and technology behind this breakthrough genetic genealogy. Liz, can you explain how it works?
Sure. Genetic genealogy combines DNA testing from traditional genealogical research. Here's the gist. You send your DNA to a testing company like 23andMe or Ancestry.com, and they compare your genetic material to others in the database. This creates a web of connections, family trees, essentially that can trace relatives you didn't even know existed.
In the case of Baby Garnet, the law enforcement partnered with genealogy firms to have analyzed DNA from the infant's remains. They compared it to the publicly available database, eventually tracing the family tree back to Gina. Ooh, did you know some of it was, or did you have to sign anything like, oh, your information is going to be available publicly or privately?
You said they can destroy it after they test it. My older sister did that, where she had hers done it, and then they got rid of it. But she's like, I kind of wish I had kept it around. But I mean, technically, it's still in the database, right? Honestly, we think about it, the world has some of our DNA wherever we go. So I'm a plain Jane. So what they're gonna do with my DNA? Nothing. I'm already locked in and loaded through my work as a hospital person. It's like really, it's not much more than a threat. I rather have if they can find a cure for cancer and they had to use my genetic makeup, fine, cool. But I'm a plain Jane. I have nothing great about me. I have the cancer gene.
All right, continue, Liz.
Sorry, I gotta get back. That's where things get a little sticky. Jenna didn't give permission for her DNA to be used in a police investigation. She submitted it for fun to learn about her ancestry, not to become part of a criminal case.
Exactly. And while solving crimes is a noble goal, this raises some serious ethical questions about privacy. Should your genetic data, something as personal as your DNA, be accessible to the law enforcement without your explicit consent?
That's a tough one. On one hand, the technology has cracked cases that were unsolvable for decades. But on the other side, it's a self-precedent that might make people think twice about submitting their DNA in the first place.
And it's not about the individual. Gina's family tree was put under a microscope, revealing painful truths about the affected multiple generations.
Right? Families caught up in the crossfire of the investigations often face emotional fallout. Imagine discovering your grandparent might have committed a crime like this. It's a lot to process.
So the big question is, where do we draw the line? In the next part, we'll explore how this technology is related or not, and what it means for the future of privacy and justice.
All right, let's talk about the legal side of things. Right now, the use of genetic genealogy in law enforcement exists in a bit of a gray area. Some companies like family tree DNA allow law enforcement to access their databases under specific conditions. Others, like 23andMe, require a court order, but there's no universal standard.
Bruh.
Now, there we go. We have an answer to that. That's where the controversy lies. On one hand, you got the incredible potential to solve crimes, bring closure to families. On the other hand, there's a question of consent. When you submit your DNA, are you really agreeing to let it be used in a police investigation?
Exactly. It's a slippery slope. What starts the tool for solving violent crimes could easily expand into more invasive uses like tracking minor offenses or even surveillance.
And look at that shit.
Let's not forget the emotional toll on families. Take Gina, for example. She submitted her DNA to learn about her ancestry, not to uncover a family connection to a decade-old crime. Now her entire family is under scrutiny. That's true. You know, when the case originally happened, probably it was on the news and stuff like that. And then it's being like basically dug up again, right? And they're in the public again. And mostly with the way how we talked a little earlier, how social media and things like that, it's like, damn, grandma, what'd you do? What'd you do, grandma?
Yeah. I just don't know how people could hide a pregnancy, but then again, what do I know? What do I know? We've seen it happen multiple times.
Okay.
So, that's a huge burden, and it's just not the suspect, and it just about the suspect. Innocent relatives getting caught in the crossfire too. That's a risk of false positives or misinterpretations that could ruin lives.
Which brings us to a bigger question. Should there be stricter regulations? Some experts argue for clearer consent policies, while others suggest an independent oversight body to regulate how genetic data is used in criminal investigations.
It's a tough balance. You want to give law enforcement the tools they need, but not the cost of an individual privacy. And let's face it, once this data is out there, it's almost impossible to control how it's used.
So what's the solution? In the final segment, we'll look over what steps can be taken to protect privacy while still harnessing the power of technology for good. Let's see here. Give us 1 second, everyone. So where do we go from here? Clearly, genetic genealogy has incredible potential to solve cases and bring justice, but we need safeguards to prevent misuse.
Absolutely. One approach is to creating clearer consent policies when people submit their DNA for companies. They could not exactly know exactly how it might be used and have the option to opt out of law enforcement and searches.
Another solution could be better regulation. Some experts suggest establishing an independent oversight body to review how genetic data is accessed and used by law enforcement. This could create accountability and ensure transparency.
Let's not forget about education. People need to understand the risks and rewards of submitting their DNA. Whether it's for ancestry research or medical purposes, informed consent is key.
That's exactly what you were saying before. There's the technology itself. As it advances, there's potential for more targeted searches that minimize collateral impact on innocent relatives. It's about using the tool responsibly.
Ultimately, it comes down to balance. We want to harness the power of genetic and genealogy to solve crimes, but we need to protect individuals' rights and privacy. It's a tough needle to thread, but it's worth pursuing.
Well said. As we wrap up, we want to hear from you and our listeners what you think, what law enforcement access to public DNA database, and how you feel if your DNA helped solve the crime or implicate a relative. That actually was a good question. What would happen if you found out like your one of your siblings was like turned out to be murdered because of your DNA? Like, oh my god.
I would be surprised. B, it would make sense, and C, I'm getting somebody off the bad streets. I honestly, I love my siblings to death, but there's sometimes you go, I love you, but if you're causing harm to random people on the street, that's not good. They don't deserve that shit.
True. That is the true right there. All right, let's go over some of the questions above. Let's see. Anything we can talk about before? We kind of went over a lot of things. We over more of the questions. But that's crazy. You know, just the idea of that, just like one day you're like, oh, learn about yourself. Next day, my grandma's going to jail.
I would love how my grandparents would be taken to jail. Be like, yeah, they're dead. But I'm glad you solved that case. I mean, honestly, you think about it. How many cases are solved? You know, how many kids were kidnapped and discarded back in a lot of this decades, and we saw they were in cardboard boxes, or just like some of that stuff. We were seeing a lot of that. But
the quote unquote dumpster baby.
Yeah, some of that. There was a cardboard baby blue eye one. There's a bunch of them, and I feel like it has solved some crazy cases. Like I think they even used it towards the what's her name? I'm blanking out on it, but we solved old cases that we wouldn't have solved today. So they could have solved back then in like the 30s or the 40s and stuff like that. We're seeing more relative things, and yeah, it sucks that we're kind of reopening a wound for a lot of people. But it also gives closure to the people that have lost people. And honestly, you think about it, it's like people who didn't realize they have a family out there, who, because they were adopted or kidnapped, and they were found, oh shit, I was kidnapped as a kid, this is not my real family, that kind of stuff. I mean, it is I think it's heartwarming to a lot. And yeah, you have to be the devil's advocate. Are we really giving away a lot of our freedoms? But I mean, again, social media gives away a lot of our self as it is. So we're adding one more factor. I mean, it's like you're trying to avoid going to the doctor, but then you have genetics that can, oh, this drug will work for you better than drug B, C, and D. So let's try drug A because we know this, it works for your drug, with you as a person, as an individual. So there's upside, downsides, but you kind of have to see there's a lot more good than there is bad to giving away that little information. I mean, whether we like it or not, China has our DNA.
True. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Convoluted Podcast. Let us know your thoughts on any of these things. What happens if your DNA is lost, or some of the other topics we talked about, like the idea of brain rot. Look, brain rot's getting to me right now. I can't even remember what we talked about.
So Riz.
Oh, Liz, God, that is not the way. That is not how you use that word. If brain rot's what you're looking for in Riz, I am. I need to have a word with you on the side. But yeah, everyone, let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you're spending the holidays, wherever you're spending it. If you're spending it with family, friends, or if you're spending it with us. So, Liz, any final thoughts here?
Yes, that's a gift we will always appreciate.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time, see ya.
Bye.
Anything aboard after 93 can't cook. All they know is McDonald's charge their phony hot chip and live.